Okay, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back. It's 8:18 here on a Thursday morning, a Sens Game Day Thursday with JR. Steve Lloyd is back alongside Hammer. We got the Sens and the Ducks. Start of a two-game or a two-week road trip, we should say, for Ottawa. And it's a late-night start from Anaheim. 10 o'clock face-off with Dean Brown and Gord Wilson, and an 8 o'clock pregame show. To preview that and all things NHL, we welcome to the show on this Thursday morning. We say hello and good morning. A presentation of the Myers Automotive Group to Mike Johnson. How you doing this morning, MJ?
Good morning. 10 o'clock starts. Long West Coast road trip. When I used to play in the East, I used to sort of like working my way west, where like you sort of go, I don't know, to Dallas, then to Arizona, then to California, and then just zipping all the way over there. It's a whole new world over there, and it's not easy anymore. You used to think Anaheim and San Jose, we can manage those teams.
Yep.
That is not the case this year.
It's like it was about 10 years ago, right? It was a bit of a murderer's row when you went through California because LA, Anaheim, and San Jose were all good at that point. Then they all got to certain degrees not that good, and now they certainly are back. So we might as well jump off right there with a thought on Anaheim. So they won again last night. They beat Boston. I think everybody's aware, even if you just sort of follow a little bit, of all of the good young players that they have. Are you kind of surprised, at least early on, that it feels like all of those good young players have all kind of matured at the same time and led them to at least through 20 games being as good as they are?
A little bit surprising because that's not how it goes, right? Like that doesn't always happen all together all at once. For every Leo Carlson breaking out, then you're going to have a Cutter or Beckett Seneca sort of stumbling a little bit, which has happened. It's totally normal in the development of players, but Carlson and Gauthier have been incredible, both of them. You forget how good Troy Terry is because somehow he feels like an old player on that team, even though he's not. Seneca, McTavish, down the line they go. Their defense is still a work in progress, but they got the Jackson LaCombe and Olin Zellweger, and they have some names there that are really pretty good. So, yeah. And when Quenneville gets in there, I think he gives them confidence, but he also gives them license to attack. And they don't play sort of a cautious defensive game. And sometimes that means that the games end up 7-5 and just Sal's out on an island all by himself. But they will keep pushing. They will keep attacking. So they'll challenge Ottawa's sort of system and structure and discipline because they are wired aggressive and they are freed up to go and play the way that they want.
So many good young players, MJ, but kind of like Ottawa, how much did we talk about when moves were made? All right, we're going to bring in David Perron, and Claude Giroux was signed. Going to get Nick Jensen and, Lars Eller this year. Bring in, they got some really good young players, but they made two trades with the Rangers last year to bring in some experience there, and Kreider and Trouba. Michael Granlund's part of this team. They brought in Killorn a few years ago. Gudas is the captain. I mean, they've kind of done that, haven't they? They have a good core of veterans on this team to insulate these young guys that are popping this year.
Yeah, they're not naive to the fact that you can't have a team full of 21-year-olds and nothing else. Like someone's got to guide the way a little bit. Someone has to have some experience where you can lean on and explain and show the younger players not only just life in the NHL, but also how to be a professional and how to handle different games and road trips and challenges and successes. And they brought in some pretty good players that have had some pretty good success, as you mentioned, all those guys that you talked about. And it's a good blend. But the good part about all those guys they brought in, none of them are signed very long. Right? They're not all signed. Like Killorn, they gave a decent contract to, but they picked up Kreider's contract, the Trouba's contract, and they didn't give a long one to Granlund. So they still have the flexibility that you're desperate to keep when you are going through these sort of rebuilds, retool. So they're in a good spot. I don't know if I buy entirely that they're going to be there when the season ends, but so far so good. You have to give them credit. They are out in a good way, and they're first by a few points in the Pacific, and the Pacific is sort of topsy-turvy right now, but they deserve to be there. They are a good team.
There is, I don't think, and I don't pretend to know everything about every player that's in the NHL, particularly if they play in California, because I'm just not watching them as much. But there was, through the summer, there was no one who signed a bigger money deal who I knew less about than Jackson LaCombe, the defenseman from Anaheim, who got a $9 million a year deal. And then I looked at his stats and I go, okay, those are pretty good stats. So tell us all about Jackson LaCombe, who we're going to see on the Ducks blue line tonight.
So, young, offensive-minded defenseman. Interesting fact about Jackson LaCombe is that he didn't start playing defense until he was like 15 years old. You see him look like he has forward skills. That's because he was a forward his whole life. It wasn't until late in his hockey playing career that he sort of moved back there. But he's a big guy. He has the ability to score goals from the defensive position. There's a real value in that for teams that not just have guys that can move the puck, but can actually score goals. He can do that big time shot. He's still not, he's not Rod Langway just yet. He's not the defensive defenseman,
Right.
but he's working on that. But he's got the frame to really sort of do some good things around the front of the net, strong, but he'll challenge you going the other way. So if you think you have him in his own end, you turn a puck over, he goes, and you got to make sure you keep track of him because he has the ability to make it happen offensively. So yeah, he's very good, very offensive minded, and a big shot. Like if you're a goaltender or you're a defensive player thinking I'm close to him, that's enough. That's not. You got to be right on top of him because he can really, really shoot it.
Doesn't sound like next February, but are we talking about a potential future U.S. Olympian in this player?
It's not out of the question. He was really good at the Worlds last year, which is not the Olympics, but it's a bit of a precursor. Part of the reason he got that big contract is because he played so well at the World Championships. So, some of these older players for the American team, Slavin or whatever, might get a bit older than he would be in that conversation. But like Canada, there are a lot of good young players too also that are not going anywhere. But he'll be around that conversation, yes.
It's always fun to see an NHL player make their NHL debut. MJ, it looks like we're going to see that from Stephen Halliday tonight. Maybe take us back, and you joined right out of college when you jumped into an NHL lineup for the first time. The excitement of the day for Halliday.
Yeah, I mean, it's overwhelming, especially if you know about it. It's the ability to build it up much better now, and your family would know, and hopefully they're going to be able to get out there to support him in time and to share that experience. I think you're sort of stuck between two worlds, Lloydie, where you are sort of excited and, for me, like almost in disbelief that it was happening. I can't believe I'm going to play in the NHL. It's just such a monumental thing if you think about growing up and dreaming about it, and now it's about to actually happen. And then you couple that with, well, hang on, I got to play. I got to play in the NHL. I can't be bad, and sort of the pressure and the nerves of wanting to make sure that you show well and try to balance those two things. And I always tell the story, and it was the most innocuous throwaway comment of all time from Hall of Famer Larry Murphy, who had seen 1,000 rookies come and go for their first game when I played with him. He was in his 20th year with Toronto. And I was so nervous, and I didn't know anything about anything, sitting there and just before the game. And he just saunters over, sits down in the stall beside me, and just very casually just said, "Hey, kid, whatever it is you do that. You're here for a reason. You'll be fine." And then he just got up and walked away. And it was the most calming, reassuring moment. I can remember it vividly, how much in that moment, those little 10 seconds meant to me. I'm like, okay, that's something I can latch onto, and a Hall of Famer who believes in me. And that was enough to kind of settle me down and go out and play and play, I guess, okay in the first game. So that sort of idea, trying to balance, what am I supposed to do? How is this supposed to go? And then also just free yourself up to play.
Oh, that's an awesome story. Now, as mentioned, it was a whirlwind for you. Were your parents able to make it? No, they didn't.
It wasn't one of those things. They could have.
Yep.
I played on Friday in college. I signed on Saturday. I flew to Tampa on Saturday, and I played Sunday. So there was plenty of time for them to fly there on Saturday.
Calling out your parents, all right.
Yeah, but it was not something that people did. You know what I mean? It wasn't, every team didn't fly the parents to wherever the kid's first game was. That was not a thing. So they just waited to the next game, which was in Toronto, and I had about 100 people for the next one that was at home, and where we got absolutely pumped by Philadelphia, and I never touched the puck once. So good times. But no, so they weren't there. They were all just bundled up in their family room with all my family and friends watching at home. But I almost probably would have felt more overwhelmed if a big contingent of people came down there, because you just don't know how it's going to go. And it's just so overwhelming focusing on just the hockey part, let alone trying to celebrate with everyone else. So I was probably okay with them just coming to the second game where I'd gotten the first one out of the way.
All right. Brady Tkachuk gave an update through his podcast that, he's targeting next week. So maybe about a week away from getting him back. Shabbat skated after practice yesterday. That's some good news. They've kind of got through. They're 8-4-4 without Brady Tkachuk in their lineup. You can see him coming back right now. how would you assess the team overall through this stretch here? Because it's not perfect, right? The PK's been a problem. There's a few other things, the goaltending getting a little bit better. But how would you say the Sens have come through this so far?
Flying colors, really. I mean, think about what we were talking about when Brady went out. We were thinking, oh no, oh boy, could this be trouble for Ottawa, big picture for the season? And I think if you were to talk to people around the organization, they wouldn't have put a point value on it, but they would have said something to the effect like, can we just, tread water, stay around it, be 500 without him, and then, get our roster back the way it's supposed to look, and then see what happens, because they're really good when they're at their best and they're all together. Well, they've done better than that, right? They've been better than 500. And I think Travis, the coaching staff, and the players deserve a lot of credit. One, for not sort of overreacting to Brady's absence and not letting it become an excuse to them, as well as, the system play. Again, the defense for Ottawa has been very good this year. They have been rock solid for the most part. 5-on-5, I'm talking Lloydie, 5-on-5 defense has been really pretty good. So they've played a style and with the kind of commitment that allows you to be missing important players. And they've missed more than just Brady, as you mentioned in the last little bit, and still be successful. Now, the key will be with, the return on the horizon. You can't have half a dozen players think, okay, we're good now. Like somehow take a little step back because Brady Tkachuk's back in the lineup and he will do it. I don't have so much responsibility to make sure I have to do it. And it's a common occurrence when star players come back, other players do sort of take a step back because they exhale and put the pressure back on the returnee as opposed to playing with more responsibility and ownership that they played when he wasn't there. So integrating him back in without dropping makes Ottawa a very good team. And I think the Sens should be excited about what they will look like when they get closer to a full lineup.
So as far back as kind of through training camp, some of the insiders were, and I think the first time it came up, and I'm just talking about, the recognized insiders, the LeBruns, the Friedmans, the Dregers of the world, all intimated that, and the first time it was mentioned, was like, really, that Ottawa was willing to, was looking at making a significant deal of some sort. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet. But Elliot Friedman in his column this morning intimated as well that Ottawa's out there lurking, looking to hit a home run sort of thing. So that suggests that they haven't changed their opinion on that. If you were to look at the Sens right now and say, what is the one thing, and I'm talking about a significant player, what type of player do you think that the Sens need to add to their lineup to really try to push themselves up to beyond where they are right now?
I mean, it's always the same two kind of players, right? It's always like, I think they probably wouldn't want another right shot puck moving defenseman. Like, I get it, 5-on-5 offense. I get it, probably another scoring winger. Like right now, the way I look at their roster, Tim Stützle and Batherson have been dynamic and so productive together, right? With David Perron or whoever. The Pinto line with Amadio and Giroux has been spectacular. Like their underlying numbers and actual numbers through the roof, don't touch them. So you have Dylan Cousins' line with Greg and Zetterlund that hasn't been quite as. So that's offensively the line you would identify, say, do we need to maybe find something that can work there? But I think big picture with Brady coming back, like Brady will go on that line or we'll have other offensive players moving around. So that offers a big addition right there. Zub is excellent, Sanderson, Shabbat. Like Nick Jensen, you have to respect and love the battle and the will and the guile and all of it. I just wonder at his age, with where Ottawa wants to go, would you like to have another option of reliability beyond Jordan Spence or Mantipalo that you can say, you know what, when we get in the second round and when we're playing Florida and when it's rugged and rough and we need a puck-moving guy, can we find a right shot puck moving guy? I think I would prioritize that. Now, having said that, so would about a dozen NHL teams, right? Like it's right-handed puck moving defenseman. That's not a mystery. But for Ottawa, if you could get someone of consequence there, not just a player, but a good one, with everyone healthy, Ottawa would look at the Eastern Conference and say, nothing's easy, nothing's guaranteed, but they could look at every opponent and say, there's no reason we don't win this series. And I think that's where Steve Staios is trying to get the team to be for the start of the playoffs.
we were having a bigger discussion about where this franchise is at right now. We know what they've been through for better part of a decade before they made the playoffs last year, MJ, but like this is a good team. Brady's
Mhm.
up in 3 years. The Pinto signing, you have your known costs and your key players for the next few years here. They are entering the window. I think it's okay to talk about it's go time, and you're
Mhm.
trying to win now. And, every conversation is worth a conversation about how do we maximize because the cap's going up. You've got some value contracts in Kachuk and Stützle and Sanderson. You're going to have cap space after this season as well. Is the time is nigh to quote the old Eric Carlson Ken
Mhm.
Campbell interaction from a few years ago. Don't you feel that way that it's okay to talk about this team getting involved with some big fish and try to push this thing forward in the near future?
Yeah, near future being today. Yes, absolutely. And it's amazing. Like windows open and windows close faster than you think, right? Like you think, oh, they have all these players. They got forever, a huge runway. They got 3 or 4 years, and then it's all going to change. And so, it doesn't happen every single year. You have to give yourself your best chance. You can't be shy. You can't be worried about, you can't be as concerned about futures because, you're focusing on the now. And what makes it feel a little bit funny, Lloydie, for the Sens is that they went so long without making the playoffs. They just made it last year to go from, there's like a quick transition from, okay, we're just trying to play relevant games to, no, hang on, we're out here to try to win a Stanley Cup. But that's where they've done. And I think that's where their roster is. And I think that's a testament to sort of the team building management that they've done and the younger players maturing and becoming really good, that this is it. And they will take four swings at it. And it might not happen, but they should be aggressive every single time, recognizing where their team's at, where the league's at, what they need, salary cap, all the rest of it. But yeah, like I know players are hesitant to go be too outspoken about they want to win a Stanley Cup or they expect to be competitive for a Stanley Cup because that somehow puts pressure on them. But that's where they're at. They're no longer trying to make the playoffs. They're trying to make the playoffs and compete to win the Stanley Cup. And those are sort of two different philosophies. They've made a quick transition out of the first one into the second.
Do you think that behind the scenes in his office, never to be said publicly, that Steve Staios is looking at a 3-year window, including this year? So until Brady Kachuk's contract is up,
Mm-hmm.
as this is our prime time to win. Because, I mean, let's face it, I think I asked you about it last week. And it's not just how much money he's going to make. Like, Brady Kachuk is going to be available and wanted by every single team when his contract is up. And,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't think it'll come down to money. Every team will offer him a ton of money. Like, I think the door's open. Anyway, do you think that that's the way they're looking at it here in Ottawa? It's the next 3 years, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And that doesn't mean you're foolish, doesn't mean you're reckless, but it means you recognize the urgency of the timeline and the importance of Brady. And, I'm sure him and Brady Kachuk and Brady Kachuk's management and everything else will have conversations as they get closer to that day. But for now, what you have guaranteed. What you have guaranteed is 3 years. You have all these guys locked in. You have the cap space that you'll accrue as the cap goes up and the guys stay affordable, and you take your run at it. And you take your run at it right now. This is the best opportunity the next few years since the early 2000s and to the post lockout team for Ottawa. Like in 20 years, this is the best moment for the team to try to go compete and win a Stanley Cup. And you can't let that slide without doing everything you can, including sacrificing some futures, including taking some risks to give your team the best chance in these moments.
Last one here, just kind of a talk of the league opinion from you. What did you make of the whole Patrick Waugh, Mikko Rantanen,
Mm-hmm.
Scott Mayfield, Romanov, all of it? Like what was said, how it was handled, no suspension, that whole schmaltz over the last few days.
So lots to unpack there. I think at first blush, I just say this, and I've said this before, it's not reactionary. I think the one thing I'd like to see the league work to get out of it is this boarding. And now I get it, Rantanen was falling, whatever. But like just generally speaking, I think boarding is the most dangerous, frequent thing that happens on the ice. And players put themselves in position to get hit like that, and players don't mind hitting players in that way, and both of those are troubling. So that's that. I don't have a huge problem. And I get legality wise, and I get everyone's going to talk about, Steve Moore and Todd Bertuzzi, whatever. Like, but if I were to have died every time someone told me they're going to kill me, I would have died 1,000 times for them. If I would have lost my head every time someone's going to knock it in, I would have down 300 heads. Like, this is what is said all the time, and it's not worried. Like, people say, should Rantanen be worried when he goes in place? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Yes, they'll be physical, but no one's going to go out there and trying to hurt him. Patrick Roy's not going to say, we got to go get him and make him pay. None of that stuff is going to happen. And if I'm on the Islander bench, I love my coach going after their player. That's a player that he knows, right? They know each other from Colorado.
They stood on the stage together when he was drafted.
Right. And yet that's telling me, as a current Islander, Patrick Roy has got our back. And to the point where he's going to go fight a guy, threaten his well-being about a future game because he is protecting us. And I love that from an Islander point of view. That's Patrick Roy's sort of passion. It's rarely heard that clearly and that obviously, but that kind of stuff is said, not always by the coach, but on the ice all the time. Like literally every game, that stuff is said when there's a collision like that. So I don't think they'll have a conversation before the next game. I imagine, supervisors of officiating or whoever will be in the building to remind everyone, like, play hard, but play smart, and the refs be told any monkey business in that game, and the guys will get kicked out right away to try to diffuse. But I don't think there's much there. But I don't have a problem with it, especially if I'm an Islander player. Like Patrick Roy has got our back, and that's a great feeling to have.
Next game between the two, I looked it up. I'm trying to remember. It's either February 26th or March 26th. So there's lots of cool down time between now and then. But you also
I'll be watching.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But we also and 99 times out of 100, the hype is more than the substance, right, of what actually happens.
But sometimes,
yes.
Ken Hitchcock back in the day said somebody's going to make Martin Havlat eat his lunch. And the next game, we had the record penalty minutes.
So once in a while, it does come true. So we'll see. All right.
Yeah, but listen, it's one thing to say, okay, Scott Mayfield is going to try to force Mikko Rantanen into the fight. Like that doesn't happen often, but that might happen. But that's somehow safer than like absolute chaos where people are running around trying to hurt each other. It's,
right.
And so, yeah, I thought it was, and Patrick Roy, he's fiery. That's Bruce Boudreau, right? He almost came through the glass at him in Colorado. So
oh, we know all about that.
He does these things.
All right. Good stuff. Appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll chat again with you next week.
All right. Hey, Lloydie, great to have you back. I know you got upgraded to the afternoon. You sleep in now. So
Yep.
I appreciate you slumming it in the morning with me.
All right.
I
Good to talk to you. I'm in a bit of a coma right now, but we're soldiering on.
Listen, you and me both. I do it every time I talk to you. Anyway.
Wow. See you, MJ.